Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Today, we are with Linzy Elizabeth. I'm so excited for this conversation. Linzy is an executive coach, an entrepreneur, an athlete, a ballroom dancer, and lover of life. Linzy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Enrique. It is so great to be here. I've been looking forward to this.
Well, folks, I'm excited about this, and I want you to get excited also because we're going to be talking about living life unmuted, a very hot topic, and we're going to get into this. But before we do, Linzy, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So I am an executive coach, and as you said, also a ballroom dancer. But how I got there was went to college, got accepted to medical school, decided not to go, got married. In that time, had a landscaping business, homeschooled my children, had a farm, and in that time was very muted, disconnected from me, my truth, myself, and then ended up divorcing. And then on the flip side of that, my kids are at school now and started this business, but stepped into the ballroom dance world, and that also really catalyzed the unmuting. Once you get that body moving and you explore and you start to align with your truth and listen to what it is that you've known to be true all along, because it's that silencing, it's that quieting, the shoulds and the stories. So
amazing. It is something that I can see play out. You mentioned I was muted and you touched your heart.
yeah.
And that's such a powerful gesture. For leaders, you need to understand the gestures your people are using in order to help them navigate some moments like these that they feel muted. They're not themselves. They're not living their true and sincere nature. Now, you made a post that kind of navigated me around what we're going to talk about today. And in the post, you said, leaders, it is up to you to lead your own life. Are you doing this? And then you use an acronym for you, right? And I love this because unmuted really requires a focus on you. You said, why? Yes. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to remain. O, own. Extreme ownership. It's up to me. And then finally, you unmute. Daily unmute, shed the junk. I'm going to say junk. And evolve. So, Linzy, what is being unmuted to you?
Yeah, so it's so easy to get lost out here in the chaos, in the stories, whether it's a cultural story, whether it's a family story, a religious story. It's so easy to just live by the shoulds, the expectations, the conditionings, and just start pinging around out there in the chaos and create something that looks like success, but it doesn't feel like success. So it's costing you, it's costing you your essence, it's costing you your soul, and you're not offering the best of you to yourself, but then also in your leadership, in the leadership of your family, in the leadership of your community, in your workplace. And so it's getting out of the noise and the chaos and the shoulds and the stories, the expectations, and aligning with what is it that I actually want, because this isn't working anymore. It worked for a while. It got me to where I am. And I'm thankful for that. So it's not a matter of being bitter, shoving that aside, hating it. No, it's gratitude for all of it because it brought you to this moment. But to align with the truth in this moment, that's no longer working. So there's something better to be birthed forth.
That's powerful. Now, I often liken that scenario to success, right? And that's one of the things that I say, taking you from success to success. But you mentioned something very critical there, right? There's these outliers, these things, the echoes of other people's lives, the simulation of a norm or a way of being.
Yes.
That may not necessarily be in line with you, right? The individual created you. And yes, there are norms. There are things that are good to practice. There are obviously some good things to follow in life meant to keep you safe, to avoid some real heartache. And there's a lot of things that are there that have been passed down. But you mentioned things that helped me get here. And in leadership, we often say, what got you here may not get you there.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
And so as we navigate those things, there's a lot of decluttering that has to happen, right? So how can I identify if I've been censored, if if I've been muted, if I've been going through the normal rigors of life just like everybody else and have basically silenced myself?
Yeah, it's that you feel lost within your own skin. You feel lost within your own life. And you start making the excuses or the, well, I should just be grateful, or I should be happy, or I have it better than. That's probably all true that you have it better than somebody. But your gift is you. Your gift you have to give to others is you. So if you want the full expression of you, your leadership, what you have to offer, and especially high performers, like they want that impact. They want soul plus success, not just success, but here I am and I want to give all of me and I want to experience all of me and I want to give that to my kids and I want to give that to my marriage and I want to give that to my community. But when part of you is suffocated, it's locked up, it's muted, it's not available. It's there, it's within, but it's not available. So it's that I feel lost, I feel squished, I feel the fact that you're even questioning it is letting you know something's not working. Like you don't eat an amazing cookie and then you're like, I think maybe I want a carrot right now. Like if it's amazing and delicious, you're not looking for something different. So the fact that you're asking the question, that you're feeling that massive stress, squished, alone, loneliness, there's something off.
Yeah, those feelings. If anybody's listening and you've never felt something like that, you're immune to humanity because
Yes.
I tell you, I remember those times that I felt that, right?
Mhm.
I was designed for a certain thing. And because of someone else's box, I could not outgrow it. I had to shed them. It just happened. It had to happen. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I made a post about, hey, be careful the company you keep because they may be holding you back. You mentioned appreciation. And I love that you said that because truly you cannot just diminish the value of what that was at the time that got you to the place you are today. That would not be right. I don't think it's right.
Yeah. That whether you call it a challenge, a struggle, but whatever, that situation was the catalyst to allow you to have the awareness, the realization, the becoming within that situation, the evolution, so that you could realize and you could grow and you could become. And each person that was involved in that story, they're also on their own journey. And who are you to dictate where they're supposed to be or what their success is supposed to look like? And so honor what is at the moment. If it's not working, if it's not a win-win, it's not a win, because love is a win-win. And things that are produce that love and that goodness, it produces it for everybody. And so if one person is being squished, that probably means one person is also able to dominate, also able to, like, that's not a healthy, that's not healthy. So that process of unmuting and aligning with truth and what is goodness, it produces it for everybody.
You mentioned the win-win scenario. There are times in life where there's not that. You tend to sacrifice for the greater good, right? It's always like, why are we sending 500 people to die? Oh, for the greater good. I don't see the greater good in that at all. But this is a process, a thought process a lot of leaders go through trying to find an excuse, right? That's an excuse, if you ask me, to go a certain way just for the sake of their desire. And a lot of times, as humans in relationships, we sacrifice ourselves for the greater good, when what you're just telling me is there should be a win scenario on both ends. There should not be a diminishing of one. And even if it's a slow scale, it should always be a progression forward.
Yeah, even the concept of greater good, we often have a should in our minds, like success looks this way, it needs to happen. And therefore, we have that massive need for that result. Therefore, we have stress behind it. Therefore, we have control behind it. When what you really are desiring is when you're unmuted and you're able to live within the truth and listen and become aware, that guidance is within. And so you're able to then understand what actually a win-win looks like. So, and what actually in this moment is the best answer moving forward. So releasing the control of it must look a certain way, as opposed to, no, when I align with truth, I'm able to blossom forth, bloom forth, and create that love and be that and create the win-win that's available.
And so let's say I am that person. I've been listening so far, and I've identified that, whoa, hold on now. I've been muted. I've been censored. I've been put in a box. I feel those things that have been mentioned in this conversation. What are some ways I can start discovering being unmuted? Because if it's foreign, I may not identify the way.
Yeah. So even that, like I've been put in a box, that is victim mindset. Someone else did this to me, some system, some man, some woman, like whatever. Somebody did this to me. But wait, no, what did extreme ownership? Like when I took extreme ownership of me within my marriage, it's easy to say he, and those things might all be exactly correct. However, what am I doing in response to that? Who am I being? What am I allowing? Am I choosing bitterness or love? Like what am I allowing to exist within inside of me? And so it's so easy to be like, these things are happening and my husband's not doing this, she's not doing this thing isn't happening. I have this team of people and the CEO says this and I have to do this. Wait, you chose to go to that job. Like to really understand, and that's why the YOU acronym, the extreme ownership that we have such fear to, and be kind and gracious to yourself in this. We have such fear about how things are supposed to look that we're so afraid to make the changes because we are having success in one area. The paycheck is coming in, the whatever, like this one area, the success is visible and it's happening. But what if I make these changes? What's going to crumble? The things that are muted inside of you, that's being held back, those are unable to be expressed because of that difference of I'm not able to fully live because I'm in that fear. So when you unlock and you live and you release that fear and go through that process of what really is true, because truth and fear, they don't coexist.
That's absolutely true. And it's powerful that you mentioned take notice of what you're saying. Mm-hmm. Right? Take notice of how you are referring to the scenario. Is it they put me in a box or I allowed myself,
yes,
because of this, that, and the other to be put in a box?
100%.
And those are two different things.
Different things. And the gift is then you get to do something about it. Like that, it's not done upon you. You have your will, you have your capability, you have your decisions, and to really own everything in your life currently is because of the choices that you've made up until this moment. And so if you want a different result, there's different choices that can be made.
A powerful thing for a person to get to that place. But you mentioned fear, you mentioned truth, right? There's not a a dance there, right? There's no ballroom dance there. Between truth and fear, they don't dance together. They are really opposed to each other. And some of the apprehension of people listening now in the future is that, hey, if I unmute myself, there are going to be some consequences that come about that. So, what are some sort of consequences that may come about a person getting to this point? Because I almost see in this like a Neo Matrix type of scenario. You got to get unplugged, but there's some consequences.
Well, first is realize the truth that the fear that you're feeling, you're only able to see like this. You're able to see only through tunnel vision. You're constricted. You're not in the space of expansion and seeing something beyond what currently is available. So what is a consequence? You might actually feel freedom. You might actually feel happy. You might actually get to explore your creativity and your excellence. You might actually have elevated relationships that you've never had before. You might actually get to have impact and joy and travel and whatever that looks like in your world. But you also don't know what that looks like yet, because if you want something that you've never had, if you want to experience something you've never had, you can only see the future through the lens of what you've already experienced. So to expand and allow yourself to be in this moment and birth forth the next thing, and you just do that step by step by step, because to know 12 steps ahead, it's too much. You don't have the strength for that step yet. You're not that person yet. So, I mean, I'll be a different person after this podcast. Like, we talked, we grew, we interacted, we cultivated. And so to allow yourself that growing, and today you have enough strength and you have all the resources within today for today, and to trust that you'll have enough tomorrow and in 12 days, whatever that looks like. So it's really the consequence of being willing, which is in the you, saying yes, like being willing that, yes, this is no longer working and I'm unwilling to remain. And yes, I am willing to walk forward and make changes.
Absolutely. Now, for folks that are listening, this is a shameless plug on the Outliers Project. Both Linzy and I are members, and I'll tell you that it's a powerful group of people. And I mentioned this for this reason. Now, so the other day, not so long ago, they got together in Miami, and I wanted to be there, right? But I got to see the pictures and talk about some group of people just living their best life at that moment, right? It is a snapshot, right? You just capture that moment. You didn't see everything that happened between the time they left their house and getting there and all that, because it could have been chaotic. But why I'm mentioning it is that there is some unmuting that happens when you realize that you have been. At that moment, you start to see smiles more often than not.
Yeah.
You start to see just your color changes. I see you, Linzy, all the time. You have some bright colors on, but you know what? It's a show of life. It's a show of life. You know, I wore this shirt just because I wanted to, have my logo on it, but it's a show of life. If you see the screen behind me, it's color, it's life. And those are the consequences of you going down this road of being unmuted. Now, I will caution people, not everybody is living that life. And so you may be an anomaly, right? You may be that glitch in the system that we live in. But why not risk living your best life, even if you upset 100,000 people? I mean, this is you. You get one chance at this. And so I say this because, Linzy, you are showing, and I'll tell you that you are showing what a true unmuted life looks like. And so kudos to you.
Well, thank you. And even that comment of, what if you upset 100,000 people, 10,000 people, whatever? If somebody is upset by it, it's because they're seeing something that they want that they don't yet have the courage to do themselves. Like it's showing the places where they're muted. And so your moving forward is a gift to them, even if it creates what looks like chaos. To me, that is a win-win, because when I align with truth and I call it sandpaper to your soul, and it like rubs your soul in that way, and you're irritated and it feels abrasive, amazing, because that abrasiveness is the invitation to change, to unmute, to evolve and become, because it's letting, and you're able to see it, but they might not have the awareness yet, but there's a gift there for them. There's an invitation there for them. So to me, that's the win-wins I'm talking about.
And I love that mindset. Hey, consider it a gift, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're upset? Consider it a gift. Don't worry. Oh, you can open it later.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
and you won't be, because sometimes when you see that interaction, it tends to start to give you some other things to think about, right? Man, am I really doing this right? Should I be going? Should I keep going? And the mindset of, I'm going because this is for me, and consider it a gift is wonderful. So I'm gonna make sure to implement that one. And talking about mindset, what sort of mindset must I be in to be effective with living unmuted? Because it's gonna have to require some thinking, right?
Yeah. So I feel like once you get to the point that you realize and you understand and you come to grips with the fact that something isn't working, and you make the shift inside and you decide, I am moving forward, to me, like that mindset, like in that moment, you kind of said something about earlier, but in that moment, a shift happens and you look forward. You don't go backwards. You might not know how to move forward yet. You might be at a bus stop for a while, but you're on the road and you're moving forwards. And so willingness, and also learning self-care and self-love in a new way, because probably that was disconnected when you were in the space where you were not connected with yourself. Because had you been listening to the truths, you wouldn't have stayed and remained in that environment that long. However, complete grace, because whatever it was, whatever it took, that was what like, whether, and I think sometimes it's called midlife crisis, but to me, it's like, no, it's that midlife awareness. It's that midlife gift. It's that midlife evolution. Like, the only people that are calling it a crisis are the ones who are pointing the fingers. Like, I can't believe you, and oh my goodness, you, and you're different, and you're changing, and you're not changing. Because last time I checked, I have a biology degree, I have a chemistry degree. Last time I checked, growing things grow. Like, and so it's staggering to think that you holistically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically, all of you gets to grow. And if there's a piece that's lagging, it's draining.
Now you remind me of a picture that I saw once. It was a like a cafe setting, and there was a caterpillar and a butterfly sitting across from each other, and the caterpillar saying, "You've just changed."
Yeah, exactly. It's a gift. Isn't it beautiful?
And I could just see that butterfly saying, "Don't worry, you'll get there." Right. And so we're talking about, hey, this is a gift. So, consider that a gift and things like that. If you are that butterfly, don't be ashamed. Then now you can fly. You're
Yeah.
not stuck to a certain position. You're not stuck to a certain branch. You're not stuck to a certain leaf. If you don't like that leaf, you can pick the wings up and
Yeah.
get out of there.
Yeah.
And so that's the benefit of the consequences that we were talking about. Now, we refer to them in a positive because they are positive.
Mhm.
There are some things that others won't necessarily like, but you'll have to consider that a gift, as we mentioned. But what sort of other benefits are there in being unmuted and living your best life? Maybe some examples of what you've been going through and have noticed for yourself that others would like to hear that is coming for them.
Yeah. Well, I do want to recognize in complete grace, like that place of confusion and that place of disconnectedness, that place where you feel lost, to not be listening to this, be like, shamed. No, there is no shame in this. Like, it is to understand that you're at this point and you're searching, you're caring, and to give yourself complete grace in that. So what benefits have I received? Freedom. Like, you don't feel squished. You're able to express yourself. You're able to daily know more of yourself and to realize, yes, it's first for you, but it's a gift for everybody, because everybody in your presence, whether it be children, whether it be your spouse, whether it be people in the workplace, the barista at Starbucks, like, constantly when I'm out, people are laughing, look, like, the world, when you change, your world changes. And so it's just a catalytic, expansive gift, but to also anchor in the truth of, yeah, this moment might be really scary. This moment, you might feel clueless. This moment, you're worn, you're beat down, you're not understanding what the next step looks like. And also, it feels scary to look ahead and think my marriage is going to shift or my relationship is going to shift. What does that look like? The number of scenarios you could come up with of what it looks like, it probably isn't even going to look like that. So to honor this moment, and if you feel that sandpaper to the soul, if you feel that it's not working, own that, and you get to now move forward. And when that complete ownership, like me listening to even the truth of, I want to learn to dance. I've never thought of myself as a dancer, and I didn't even realize until I started unmuting this, I wanted to dance since I was a little girl. I've wanted to dance my entire life. I wanted to dance at my wedding. We didn't have dancing at the wedding. Like, the number of times that I got told no, or my own conditioning told me no. Oh my goodness. And when you start to unmute that and realize, no, I'm going to do this, and to now have success in it, and success is each moment I walk through the door, each moment my instructor tells me to do something, and I'm like, you want me to do what? And you wait, give it space, give it time, and you learn it. Each time you feel silly, and no, I get to own me in this, to really understand because all those little gremlins in the basement, they rise up. You do something new and you start unmuting, they're going to rise up. That fear that wants to pull you back, but to realize, oh my goodness, I get to go through this each dance lesson, each time I'm on the dance floor, each time I practice, I unmute more and I align with truth more. And so it just creates wins, because I wouldn't be the coach that I'm available to be for my clients without that, because that's part of me and my truth. That's part of me living into my evolution and unmuting. And that just catalyzes all the good stuff, the fun, the freedom, the expression, the joy, the adventure. And that's available to everybody. But it's so easy to have forgotten what that even feels like and then stay complacent.
Well, I, for one, am happy that you realized that you had a paintbrush and you pulled it out because
Yeah.
everywhere you go, you infuse that color, like I was mentioning earlier, that vibrancy, the show of life, and it is a gift. So for you that are listening and you're wondering whether you want to unmute or not, it is a gift. People may not realize it, but they see it. And silently, right? That's the terrible thing to do. In their silence, they're applauding you, and it may show up as envy and, jealousy and things like that, but they are truly applauding you because it's something that you was able to do when they weren't. And you may be the person to encourage someone else to unmute and live their best life. Linzy, this is a wonderful conversation that could go on forever, but I want to give the opportunity for those listening to know how to get a hold of you and how to get to know you and maybe unmute themselves in the future.
Sure, absolutely. So my email is lindsay@linzyelizabeth.com. And then my website, linzyunmuted.com. And then you can reach me on LinkedIn under Linzy Elizabeth. And then I'm also on Instagram @linzyunmuted.
Now, folks, we will make sure to have that as part of the show notes and the video so you can get a hold of Linzy. Linzy, if there's any one thing that you would like folks listening to know, if they got anything out of all that we discussed, what would that be for them? What would you want them to take away and ponder on for today?
Yeah. So there's a Pink song, and she goes, I can show you how to live, how your life is on the line, and to truly live like your life is on the line, because it is. So the fun, the joy, the expression, the freedom, if you're not able to feel that and live into it, tomorrow's not promised.
A powerful statement indeed. And folks, this conversation has to have a part two somewhere along the lines where we can really dive into this. But thank you, Linzy, once again for being with me and sharing your life as you do. I'm so happy for you. Continue to encourage you to paint as best you can because you are. And folks, today's episode is sponsored by Triad Leadership Solutions and Superpass, which are powering our website and app, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, and Harchester, London. And if you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to subscribe and let us know by leaving a comment right now. We're always looking for new ideas and guests that can add to our show. So if you know someone or have a topic that you would like for us to cover on the show, please send that over to triadleadershipsolutions@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to consider those things. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you, and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Enrique. It's been a gift.